kind of station keeping, if you will, very precise attitude keeping. And that very precise attitude keeping burns fuel. And so by the time we got that figured out, we had burned sufficient fuel that if we would have done an orbit insertion burn to get to the International Space Station, it might not have been enough. And so I think that the right decision was made by the people who were in the room at the time. The right decision was made to protect White Sands, to make sure that we can get this spacecraft safely back to White Sands, which is an important test objective in itself. So I want to be really clear. The NASA team and the Boeing team need to be commended for making the decision that is in the best interest of our country, for the decision that is in the best interest of the safety of people on the ground and, of course, our astronauts. I will also say that at no time, even under the automated sequence, at no time had we had astronauts on board that were not manually flying it, there was no time at which they would have been unsafe during any of this. And had they been on board, we very well would be on our way, very well could be. I'm not saying we would have been, very well could be on our way to the International Space Station right now. So.
And for other Jim, I know you said earlier that you have a really high degree of confidence of that landing will go fine, but with the timer issue completely unexpected, how are you confident that this won't happen again when the entry sequence triggers?
Well, I think your question is excellent. I mentioned confidence in reentry, but it is a fact. We have to go diagnose the root cause of our timer challenge. And by the way, anything else we've seen in spacecraft behavior as she went into an off-nominal scenario. And we have to not just say that doesn't apply to reentry. We have to say, is there anything in our previous thinking or that's similar that we could be susceptible to on landing? And we've got to go do that before we land. Simple as that.
Okay. We're going to take one more question, and then we're going to wrap it up. No.
Marcia Dunn, AP again, perhaps for Jim Bridenstine or Steve. Does any of this spill into SpaceX's effort to launch Crew next year? Is there any impact to them that you have to sort through first, or is this totally separate?
Well, there's a lot of things here that your question addresses. Number one, it is important for us as a nation to maintain dissimilar redundancy. So when you look at the Boeing solution and the SpaceX solution, they are not the same. Which means that when we do have a challenge that might set us back, the other one can keep going forward without putting us in a position where we might not have crew on the International Space Station or whatever commercial space stations come after the International Space Station. So both providers are critically important to the future architecture of commercial spaceflight. I want to be clear about that. Both providers are critically important to the future architecture of commercial spaceflight, and there very well could be other providers that get on-ramped in the future. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but there are a lot of other companies that are interested in human spaceflight as well, and a lot of them are making their own investments for their own reasons, even if NASA is not a customer. So I think that is an important point to make. I would also say that one of the reasons NASA manages the commercial crew program is because when we see a commercial provider have a challenge, something that is off-nominal, for example, we can make an assessment if that is a problem for another provider. And the goal here is to make sure that human spaceflight is safe for everybody. So in this way, NASA has a very key role to play here. We've seen this with launch abort challenges that obviously people in this room have been made aware of. And we've seen this with parachute challenges that people in this room have been made aware of. So look, the goal here is for NASA to be able to apply knowledge that we learn from each of our providers to make everybody more safe. And so yes, we do want to look across the different partners and make sure that we don't, that they're not, creating the same mistakes. This is a challenge when we talk about commercial space flight with NASA being the certifier of these spacecraft. This is a challenge in some cases because intellectual property matters to the companies. And so we have to be careful. We don't want to share intellectual property from one company to another company if doing so puts one at a disadvantage. But when there are safety of flight issues where humans need to be protected, we absolutely intend to share information. And that is a challenge that we need to continue to work through as we move forward in this commercial spaceflight era.
And I would say, echo just what Jim said. I mean, right now it doesn't look like there's crossover to Dragon, but when we go look at the root cause and we find out what the fundamental issue was, and that may take a little while to figure that out, if we think it applies to either the Falcon or the Dragon, we'll go off and work that with SpaceX. But right now, you know, today, early on, it doesn't appear to be. We've flown one uncrewed mission, Demo 1 in March with the Dragon and the Falcon, and obviously we didn't see this type of anomaly, but once we do the root cause analysis and figure out what happens, we look across both those providers all the time. That's part of our job in the program to ensure that we fly safely, so.
You know, and I'll add that it's a long tradition in our industry that human safety transcends proprietary information and issues like that, intellectual property. We are not going ever to withhold something that would put other people at risk. That's just not how it's done.
Well, with that, Mr. Bridenstine, do you have any final remarks?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, today we had a lot of successes, and I would say one of the biggest successes is watching the NASA team and the Boeing team and the ULA team work together in an off-nominal situation to make good decisions that would have been right for our astronauts and right for the country. I think that's a big takeaway. I would also say that we will continue to be, as we learn information. This is not the end. We will continue to get information. We will continue sharing information.